So I ask you, how many times have you found yourself someplace like the psalmist? That is, how many times in your life have you looked around and thought, I'm going to get help out of this situation? Boy, I'm stuck. And what do I do now? I'm going to guess, out on a limb here a little bit, that most of us have felt this way at least once a year. If you live like me, probably once a month. And you have to kind of wonder about poor Abram being 75 and to hear that call, okay, I now want you to leave. Leave everything you're familiar with. Go to a place where you don't have any power and trust. You can imagine the response. How am I going to get out of this? Where is my help going to come from? Am I sure I want to be hitting the road at 75? At that point in life, most of us kind of think we know what life's supposed to have, let alone starting over and starting fresh. Like I said, I have a lot of these places in my life, places of new moves and other changes that I find myself thinking, oh great, I'm stuck again. I've had a lot of them, although one really sticks out in my mind. And that's when I was climbing the crevice on Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina Smokies. I was out hiking with some friends, enjoying the wonderful North Carolina spring weather, when we happened along this crevice, this sheer rock face split going up to Grandfather Mountain. And it looked like a shortcut to the top. Straight up, mind you, but still a shortcut. And shall we say I was younger and a whole lot more foolish. And I decided that I would take the path less traveled. And I started to scale the crevice. The first couple of yards was really nice. It was even kind of fun to try something new, to exert my strength, to dominate the mountain. But about 10 minutes into the climb, I realized I was in serious trouble. I was stuck in the middle of the crack. And I wasn't quite sure where to go. I couldn't quite see that next handhold to put my hand around to pull myself up. And I couldn't see where I could push off of to make the next leap. So I looked for a long time, and I thought, eventually, I'm kind of slow sometimes, okay, that's bad. And after a while of poking around and not having any luck, I finally swallowed my pride and decided I was going to go back the way I came. And of course, tell my friends a good story. The only problem was I couldn't find a good way down either. Well, a way that didn't have a really sharp and sudden stop at the end. If it was bad before, not knowing how to go forward, I knew this was even worse when I couldn't go back. It's one thing to know you can't progress. It's something else to realize you can't back up either. Have you ever had a feeling like that in your life? A time when you feel trapped, and you're not quite sure where to put your hands next. Perhaps you felt this way when you were facing an illness, or a family member was, and you're surprised. Something you've always taken for granted, your health, fails you, and you're not quite sure where to put your next hand. There's not a clear way forward, and you know with your illness you can't go back. It could be a time at work when you're caught, and every option looks like a bad option. I think most people who work have held that at one time or another. It could be a time after losing a loved one, and you feel alone, and everything looks so different and lonely. That's a time we feel very, very trapped in an empty house by ourselves. It could even be a good time, such as being newly married, and you wake up and you look over and you realize, I'm trapped. I can't get away anymore. And of course, when you've been married for a couple of years, that goes away, right? Okay. It's a good trapped, but it's still trapped. And we don't have a really good roadmap for what to do next. In all of these situations, and so many more, we just aren't quite sure where to put our hands. What rock face we can push off of, how we can get ourselves going forward again. We don't know a safe way to go. In these places, we're looking around for some sort of handhold, a sure rock that we can hold on to, that we know won't fail us. At these times of feeling so lost, it's entirely reasonable to ask, who can help me? I'm stuck. Who can help me? This is where the psalmist finds himself. I lift my eyes to the hills. Where will my help come? We've all been there. We all know that feeling. But here, that as soon as the psalmist asks, there's this response. My help comes from the Lord. To paraphrase, my help comes from the Lord. He will not let your foot be moved. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in. When I am stuck, do I call? Am I willing to say, I cannot find my next handhold, and I need help? Or do we say, I'm going to bluster on forward under my own skills and devices? Friends, this all goes down to the basic question, can we trust? Can we trust in the middle of being stuck that God will care for us? For it is as I am able to trust that God will be there that I'll be able to move forward. As I am trust more that God will help me find the next direction, that I will see new directions. As I'm willing to go out on a limb and trust in my faith, the limb will become stronger. But the counterpoint is also true. For, have you ever seen somebody without trust? It's an ugly thing, isn't it? Someone who cannot trust a new direction. Someone who does not trust that something new can happen. That's the place we stay stuck and we don't go forward. Back to the mountain at hand. Remember, I was stuck in a crevice on the side of a mountain, and it's about 30, 40 minutes in. Like I said, I'm kind of hard-headed. Literally between a rock and a hard place. And I was not quite sure where to go or how to get there. Sort of like poor Abram. And I prayed, and I pleaded, and I even begged for a solution. And I remember thinking to myself, dear God, get me out of this incredible mess I put myself into. When I heard someone call down from above, hey bud, do you need a hand? And I'll tell you, for a brief second I was like, oh no, I got it. Because, we don't want to save face. See, a more experienced climber was coming down the crevice. As he told me later, that was a lot easier to do than what I chose to do. And he had happened to see that I had gotten myself stuck. Working with him and trusting in his knowledge, I was able to move. And I did not have to go back as I was afraid. He showed me that the next handhold was just within my reach. I just couldn't see it. I had to trust in his knowledge to move forward. I had to go beyond what my eyes saw and trust in his vision. I was able, not through my own sight, but again, through trust, to move forward. If I had relied only upon my own vision, my own skills, I would still be up on that mountain, or something a whole lot worse. Friends, truly, when we are stuck in life, when we say, I don't know where to go, and we're honest with that, the Lord will help us find a way. But to get there, we need to trust. We need to say, I am willing to not be just confined to my own vision, confined to my own skills, confined to what has worked before, but rather open to where God leads me. I encourage you in this time of Lent, as we focus on being disciples of the Master, to find one place, just one, where you can say, Lord, I need help, and trust to see what the Lord will do. Just find one and see what the Lord does. And remember, wherever you are in life, from one end to the other, Abram, scared as he was, at 75, and sure of what his life was going to be, decided to trust. And he became Abraham, the father of nations, and the hope of the world. Let's see what we can do if we trust in the new directions of our God. Amen.